Welcome to the 2024 combined ETF swap meet and WARCI Madison spring swap meet bounty video. I've got that thing about a third full of TVs, a console I bought partially for weight, partially because I want it in the trailer, some junk that I didn't sell in there, and in the Lincoln over yonder I've got all the stuff from the Wisconsin meet that I just bought and or didn't sell earlier today. It's Cinco de Mayo, so I'm gonna try to steal some beers out of the cooler in my it's not my trailer, in the trailer I brought to the meet and have to return to its owner, and start unloading the trailer and all the stuff in the cars. I'm going to show you the really cool score of a television I got that's in the Lincoln shortly. So what did I end up with? Well, I ignore this pile of leases that I picked up for my buddy Chris. I also found them for him during the fall swap meet. I overheard someone talking about these, wanting to let them go, and said, hey, my friend might be interested in these. Let me give you his contact information. And sometime later, I got a call from my friend going, hey, can you pay for these and haul them back from the meet for me? And so I did. These two didn't sell. The blue monitor, I think, necked itself on the way back, but I'm not dead certain. This is a duplicate of a set I already have. This is a random knob that may or may not be correct for this set. It's not quite the correct color of backplate. There's supposed to be a plastic insulator between this and that. I stole that and the knob that came with this set for the one I already had. The one I already had doesn't have this worn out wood grain, and it does have the same handle delete, but they got wood grain plastic pieces to cover over it so it looks more natural. I've got this massive 27-inch Dumont television console. That's a 12-inch, I believe, Andrea on top of it. Not Dumont, Muntz. I keep thinking it's Dumont because of the big screen. My brain's a little scrambled today. 27-inch Muntz console, scored for $10. Picture tube's really healthy, so I should be able to make this into a really nice TV. And it should be really easy because Muntzes don't have a lot inside them. I think this thing's only like 14 tubes or something. This Andrea didn't have this discoloration, but apparently one of my packing blankets was damp and caused this. I have some ideas on how to fix it that I'm going to try. I think I paid like $225 for this Andrea. Always wanted an Andrea TV, tabletop TV from this era. You usually only find them on the East Coast. I live in the Midwest, so you don't find them much out here. For $3, I picked up this blue, it's roughly 16, 17-inch TV magnifying glass. I paid $100 for a couple of different GE Portify speakers. An A channel and a B channel. I have a console with a tube transmitter in it, so I should be able to do that. I picked up a couple of VCRs, a VHS top loader and a beta top loader. I think I paid $10 a piece for them. They need work. I picked up a Packard Bell, this very small screen tube color. I'd say the screen's roughly on par with a Portacolor. Might be maybe an inch bigger than a Portacolor. It's really small, which is really cool. I have a bigger version of that set that's very similar. Channel knob on this is wrong. I found one that looks slightly less wrong, and I've seen some similar knobs to the UHF knob in my knob boxes over here, so I'm going to at some point dig through, try to find a more appropriate VHF knob, and see if I can also find, I know there's a better VHF knob for a Magnavox that I have that's in these boxes, so I'm going to have to go for that. At Fair Radio, which I stopped at on the way, that place is, I should have probably tried filming in there. That place is very interesting. It's as big as a Walmart inside, and only about 10% of the fluorescents in there still work, and most of it's military radios and parts. There's some consumer radios and TV goods in there as well. And in the 40 minutes I was there, I would say I'd be lucky if I scratched a third of what was inside that building. I'd kind of like to go back there. They're going to be closing, I believe it's June 28th of 2024, so I'd kind of like to get in there and see some more of what they've got. I picked up that TIAC Dolby unit for $15 and that SelectVision remote capable unit for $15. I think that's a remote capable unit. If it's not, I'm an idiot and I bought another unit I don't need, but whatever. And on top of those things, I picked up this CTC 11 black metal cabinet table model. Picture tube's nice and healthy in it, and I have never owned an 11 before, so I now own one, and soon I will restore this one to operation, and then once I've done that, I can say that I have owned and restored every RCA color roundy except for the CTC 12 and a genuine CTC 15. I have restored one of the 15 clones, actually a couple of different, maybe more than 2 different 15 clones. I've restored a number of 15 clones and rebadges, but never a genuine 15 yet. One way you know this Munce has been at the ETF a while. They've been stacking their stickers on it. I almost bought this back in the fall meet last year because I thought it was really neat, but I realized I had no earthly place to put it. I still kind of don't, but I have a lot more time to figure it out, given this is the spring meet and not the fall meet. Yeah, this is an ideal candidate for me for a big screen TV. A Dumont Royal Sovereign is too damn big and heavy, and it's only 3 inches bigger on paper, at least. Those are double demasked, and this is square masked, so that this might be pretty darn close to it in terms of screen size. It's better than a Dumont because it's not ridiculously heavy. This thing I can sort of lift and move on my own, not well, but sort of. If I pull the chassis, I can probably lift it on my own better, and if I pull the chassis and picture tube, I can almost certainly move it on my own easily. I can basically have about the biggest screen direct view monochrome I can readily get my hands on this way. And also, because it's a Munce, the chassis will be really simple, easy to recap, and it should be pretty quick to get it working. So I can make this a nice set rapidly. And that's kind of my plan with it, is make it nice quickly and enjoy it as a watcher set, at least. Have it available for that purpose. I'm probably not going to be able to set it up in an area where I can watch it regularly, but I can have an example of big screen. This can go along with my projection sets as kind of an example of what they were doing for big screen sets in the early days. That covers all the stuff I got at the ETF. There's one other thing I had that didn't sell. Actually, I chose not to sell my 23-inch Motorola tabletop. My friend Paul, who was supposed to come and sell me a Motorola 23 EGP22 set that we'd made a deal on, I even gave him above his asking, or offered above his asking for it. He never showed up at the ETF meet, so I couldn't buy that set from him. And the other one that I was going to get rid of to make room for it, I hung on to because I want to keep at least one Motorola sod pill set, and that table model that I was considering selling is my only sod pill set. I came home at 2-something in the morning last night, took the Lincoln, which was preloaded with some radios, and I added a few extra things, including a table at the last minute. Crate of records was one of the last minute things. I didn't want it to sit in the car and bake and warp. I hopped in the car this morning at like 7:40 in the morning, grabbed McDonald's, ate as I drove, and drove out to Madison, and was able to basically spend $3 if I put my the money I made in selling stuff into the net total of money in and out at that swap meet. I basically spent a net total of $3. Bought for $1 this Zenith, $1 this Crosley free tube cathedral radio that's missing its tubes and its knobs, and for $40 I bought this really minty GE 803. I've kind of wanted an 803 for a very long time, and this thing is a really splendid example. I don't know if the picture tube's good, but even if it isn't, for 40 bucks, I think I scored. I've got another picture tube I can slide into it if it needs one, and it's definitely worth having that done to it if that's the case. I ended up kind of in the donation auction being suckered into that thing and that thing. They were kind of packaged with the ones I wanted, so these are probably going to go someplace at some point. Oh, and they also suckered me into one of these things. This is also going to go back into the donation auction at some point. But I'm really glad I went to that meet today, even though I was running on almost no sleep and whatnot. I would feel bad if I had missed out on that GE. That is a beautiful set and one I've been hoping to find for a long time. Didn't kind of expect to find, because they're usually either beat to hell, grossly overpriced, or both, if you can even find one. And I've only maybe seen one or two come up for sale before within my grasp. I see them a little bit more on the internet, and a lot of the internet stuff just isn't local to me. If something's too far away, I kind of don't consider it within my grasp unless another collector is in the area and is willing to get it for me, hold on to it, and bring it to some event that we mutually attend anyways, and pass it off to me, which is kind of what I did for my friend on these leases. At any rate, I haven't tested any of this stuff. I'm going to... Oh, yeah, there's one more thing I didn't show, which is hiding back there. This is a GE Locomotive. The top's a little bit damaged. Supposedly it works according to my friend, just say Mr. Pike. My friend Mr. Pike, he traded me this set, this Zenith, and that Packard Bell for a Pilot TV37 that has a good P4 picture tube and is producing a raster. So I'm really happy with all the stuff he traded me, although this Zenith, now that I've got the knob I need off of it, I'm probably going to I'm probably going to resell this Zenith. It supposedly works good. I'm going to try it out later. I'm going to resell this Locomotive. It supposedly works good. I have another Motorola that doesn't have any of the bakelite damage to the top that's identical to this one. So this one is truly an extraneous set to my collection and to my needs. But it's a way of getting a little bit of money out of a deal that was going to be pure TV sets when I wanted some money, and sort of was good with some TV sets. I mean, once I figure out a more appropriate knob for that Packard Bell, I'm going to be really jonesing about having that thing. Zenith, it gave me what I needed for the one I have to be jonesing about the one I have a lot more. The only thing I don't like about mine is that it also is missing the handle just like this one is, but the handle's easier to live without, especially when they've hidden it slightly. At any rate, it's getting dark. I want to finish mowing the lawn. I got the front done. I still need to do the back. You probably hear the mower idling in the background somewhere. What I'm going to do is finish mowing I'm going to start mowing and try to finish mowing the backyard. And then once it's dark, I'm going to come in and start doing picture tube tests and variacing. I never tested the tube in the Andrea because I either didn't notice it was there or it was entered last minute or something. At any rate, I didn't think to test the picture tube before the auction started, and just kind of winged it. The good thing with the Andrea and with the G, both those I didn't test picture tubes on, is they're tubes that I'm pretty sure I have. Okay, now that I've showed you what I got, time for what I got to show me what it got. 3 volts. There it is on. Let's increase the power 10 volts. While it drops, I'm going to amuse myself with the holographic color logo, which I'd probably have to move you guys for you to appreciate fully. This thing has a very period correct smell to it. CTC 11 has a new Vista badge. I believe the 11 was the first RCA color set to have a new Vista in the tuner. What a new Vista is it's a little tiny vacuum tube that can fit inside a thimble that is basically a metal shell vacuum tube with a ceramic base and integral pins, and it uses its own proprietary socket. A number of things used new Vistas back in the day, but mostly RCA TV tuners. I'm going to bring up the voltage from 60 to 70. Interesting, this thing has a stereo input jack on the back of it. Use the internal speaker in it as a speaker for a stereo audio device that has 2 amps but not 2 speakers. A number of companies did that gimmick. I wonder just how many people actually took advantage of that. We're going to increase voltage from 70 volts to 80 volts now. Ooh, I hear the horizontal starting up. I heard a high voltage snap. We are at 112 watts at 80 volts. 90 volts now. Now we have sound. Heard high voltage crackle again. I'm remembering something that is probably an issue. The picture tube is not plugged in, I do believe. It was unplugged when I tested it at the museum. I don't think I ever plugged the chassis picture tube connection back in when I tested it at the museum, because I am lazy and dumb. So I'm going to turn this off quick and double check. Oh yeah, picture tube socket's unplugged. Oh man, that's a brilliant move on my part. I strongly suspect this set will just work now. Let me turn it back on. We're probably just going to get some kind of raster, maybe even a nice picture. Yep, we have raster. Okay, since we got this, we're gonna, what voltage are we at? 99 volts. Let's bring it up nice and gently to 100 and let's say about 15-ish. Yeah. Okay. So let's turn brightness down. Looks like there's color information in there. Horizontal hold is misadjusted significantly. Let me see if I can. I don't know why the audio just came up. Because the pod is noisy, it would seem. I think this might be turning the hold in the correct direction. Not the vertical, I can see the vertical rolling. Turning the horizontal in the correct direction. Horizontal is at some multiple there. Yeah, I am turning it in the wrong direction. Give me a moment here. That's the limit of that slug in that direction. It's distinctly possible we have paper caps in the horizontal that have drifted badly. I am seeing color demodulation here, which is highly encouraging. If we can get the horizontal to lock in, we might just have a nice color picture in a matter of seconds. We're close. There we go. Okay. So that's pretty good. Got some antenna multipath nonsense, but that's actually fairly much to be expected. Let's see here. I'm going to turn the audio up a bit so I can... You know, that's pretty darn good for what's probably an unrestored set. That works well enough that I might not even need to mess with this. Who are you kidding, Tom? You're going to mess with it anyway. I feel way better about spending, I think it was 325 bucks on this set. Which is a pretty big chunk of change considering that the same chassis of set in a console cabinet sold for 150 immediately before this. I wonder if I... Yeah, it's not bad. Working good enough that I have no complaints over it. As I say that, I create multipath interference that makes the picture look wonky by walking around the room. Okay, so now that we're happy with, now that we know about and are happy with the roundy, let's do a double header. Let's variac the Packard Bell and check the picture tube on the GE. I like that this GE has a flat back and the picture tube is just in from the cabinet back ways to protect it. That's a nice design feature. It makes the set bulkier, but it means it's harder to damage the picture tube accidentally while transporting. I appreciate that. Oh wow, it's got a strong picture tube in it. This GE was a really, really, really good buy. The picture tube alone is worth easily 2 to 3 times what I paid for the whole set. And it's a set that's in really good shape and is a really good candidate for an electrical restoration. That GE was a great purchase. I am 100% satisfied. A+ rating with my business bureau. Let's turn the Packard Bell up to 60 volts. Okay. Let's turn brightness down a little bit. And let's try the horizontal hold. There we go. Interesting, you can kind of blow out the color if it's not lined up too centered. It's not bad for a Japanese set as it starts to lose vertical sync. That's not too bad. I could dial it in a little bit better, but this is a pretty good start. I think I have some similar knobs to what's on the UHF, so if I can find a similar one for VHF that has the numbers on it, I might just be golden on knobs for this thing. The hold is not as solid as I would like on this thing. I may change some caps. Let's see if the degausser works. Packard Bell called it ICP and gave you a button to manually do it, rather than making it automatic like on other sets. Actually, I feel like that improved convergence slightly, but maybe I'm imagining things. This is a really nice, cute little portable set. And it works pretty decent. Okay, I'm free on overly satisfied with my purchases so far in my evaluation. I mean, 2 60s color tube sets that just work, that's That's not a common thing to get a hold of. One last thing I want to test out to make myself happy. I'm going to try to test the picture tube on the Andrea. Actually, before I do that, I might as well plug in the Zenith and see how it does. There we are. Oh, this was just left on. Okay. Going in hot. Good. Well, not great. We've got some fruit roll up in the vertical. Such is life. Probably an electrolytic in the cathode of the output. I would not be surprised if Dave was using you with the balun. And yep, that's exactly the case. Turn the EFC off. I'm going to fine tune it to where I think is about right. Then turn the EFC on. Vertical's actually slowly coming back on it, I'm noticing. While that stretches out, I'm going to try to get the Andrea to back off for me. There are tubes missing. Oh. I see, the original tubes are all wrapped in newspaper. Oh yeah, they were saying 1960 dated newspaper was in here. There's evidence someone pulled all the tubes out to test and then never put them back in. Interesting. And this is definitely a 12LP4 tube in here. Yeah, this Andrea's probably been sitting, waiting for a proper repair since, Eisenhower, Kennedy, one of those guys was in office. Zenith verticals come in almost all the way. It's not bad. I'm gonna see if I can, get someone interested in buying that Zenith. You know, this is real radio frequency, signal and not something that's staged when I can shrink the antennas down and the picture gets worse. I am not sure how to set up the tester or even film what I'm doing on the Andrea, but dagnabbit, I'm going to try. You'll have to take my word for it. I mean, you probably had to take my word for it on the GE anyways, because I probably didn't get the camera angle good enough to capture the meter movement in any kind of legible way. There is just enough of a corner here that I can sort of balance the picture tube tester. This is rather sketchy, but it's not impossible. So I'm going to try to film this process. So I gotta set these controls to initial and set the heater voltage down low, then turn the tester on. And I can see the heater glow in the neck right there. I'm going to set the heater voltage to 6.3 volts. I know that this tube is definitely a 6.3 volt tube. And HK leakage looks fine. G1 leakage also looks fine. Set G1 voltage to the green line at 45 volts. Set G2 voltage. Okay, I think I got 2 divisions of increase adjusted. And the tube in the Andrea is excellent. It's like 84% of full-scale deflection. Very deep in the good range. Very nice. I like. This is a set that will probably restore very well. It will probably be fun to restore. This bag here, it's actually, I think, just newspaper. I don't know. It's a paper bag, and it's got tubes wrapped in newspaper in it. And I think someone in the auction said they found a 1960 date on that newspaper. So Someone pulled the tubes out of this set to figure out a problem that it was having when this set was probably around 13, 15 years old, something like that. And I guess they didn't find what they wanted to find and gave up. I'm very happy with the picture tube emission. I will say I am slightly disappointed that there probably is not the knob that I am missing in that paper bag, because finding the missing center knob may be less easy than I would like it to be. Or not so much the knob as a correct knob. I do not know how easy it is to find knobs for these sets. And these knobs are all individually labeled. AM tuning, I think this is like tone? The letters aren't great. This is on-off volume, contrast, brightness, focus maybe? I'm guessing this is a function switch, especially seeing as how it has that metal indicator dot there. I don't think the other ones have that. So this is probably the function selector switch that selects between AM, FM, and TV. There's 2 bands of TV, so I wonder if it makes you manually select between the different TV bands, or if it just continuously tunes them the same way a Dumont would. Tuner's not frozen. I think these use the same Mallory Impu tuner or induct tuner that Dumont's did. Ooh, I can see a little dial pointer for the TV moving right there. That's cool. AM tuning is this one, and its dial cord is still good as well. Nice. I've heard these Andreas were very much like Dumont's in terms of their construction and design and performance. They're neat looking sets. I dig that big radio-esque dial on them. It's also kind of neat how you can see basically the TV band laid out in terms of frequencies that are covered within it, and how things are, well, it's not exactly linear because characteristics of the inductors and whatnot, but yeah, this set is a good restoration candidate. I will test these Portify speakers at some later date. I'm probably going to have to recap them. I don't even know if the transmitter in my Portify console is good per se, but that's something I'll also have to look into and play around with, and hopefully sometime soon I'll be able to get these speakers working. I really wish my console had the same cabinet styling as these speakers and not the French Provincial it was in. I really wish I could find a version of that Portify console that had the TV option in this cabinet style. That would be really cool. I may do some type of video on some of these, an evaluation video or repair video. I have a bunch of top-loading VHS decks, and I've been meaning to kind of, at least on the similar ones, go through them all and try to get them all working nicely. And I might try to make that its own kind of video series. We'll see how things go when we get there. Okay, so this GE Locomotive here is purported to be a working set. Let's find out if that's accurate. Got the Variac turned on and set to 41 volts. Definitely have some audio. Focus pot doesn't feel like it's attached to anything, which is concerning. Okay, the audio stages work. Why you don't have a picture? I'm sure there are reasons, and I suspect they aren't very good reasons. Do you think I see net glow in the picture tube? Well, the wattage isn't excessive, and it clearly has a decent amount of functionality to it, given that there's the amount of signal coming through that there is. Well, that's a start. Okay, so addendum to the ETF WARCI bounty video. This is what helping the estate of a friend of yours find some storage lockers they didn't know exactly where about they were gets a guy. Today is exactly 1 week from the Saturday ETF meet, and I got a whole bunch more stuff that I probably shouldn't get, but well, it's mine now. Oh, and for some reason I set my picture tube tester that I've had for a while at the end over there. That I've had for a while, so that's not part of this, but it will be used to test all of this stuff out soon. So yeah, they pulled all of this stuff out of his rental sheds. He has had some sheds that he owned, old Dave Nash, and so they pulled all this stuff aside from that, which I found in one of his own sheds that I've been to a number of times. They keep digging more stuff out of the piles, and I keep finding more stuff when I walk around. I have another Satchel Carlson almost identical to this. Not sure which I'm going to keep, but I'm definitely going to keep one, and I'm probably going to sell the other one. I'll make one really nice set out of the two, and then the leftovers will end up in a working or restorable mixture that someone can have fun with. So I picked up a couple of 5-inchers. I have this idea of making a color Filco Safari out of a head shell optics I've got, and those are the smallest cathode ray tube color TVs that I've encountered, so I grabbed them to potentially use for that. Optimus cassette deck. If that works, I'm going to probably bring it up to the cabin in a few weeks and leave it there. If it doesn't work, well, it'll end up probably donated to the WRCI, which is probably where it came from. I have a General Industries slasher changer, which came out of a console that wasn't in great shape. I could have probably saved and restored the console, except I don't have any room for the thing. Also, they took basically a trailer load of TVs out of his rented sheds that they're trying to close out. This looks NOS. I have no clue if this... Well, I'm pretty sure it's not from a slide feeder, because I think those used a bigger rectangular tube. I don't know if this is from a Motorola EVR film scanner machine or something else. I have no clue what it's from, but it's new old stock and it's fairly old. It's got the Predicta style base underneath this protector, so I just couldn't leave that to get trashed. Zenith 14N22. If I can make this look good enough, I might just sell the 14N22 console I have, which I think might be the same screen size as this. If it is, I'm definitely gonna consider selling my console and spiffing this up and keeping it, especially if this is a newer table model. They made 14N22s from about 65, 66 or so up until about 1975. Basically, they were a perfected all-tube monochrome television chassis, mostly for consoles and large table models like this. And Zenith just kept making them unchanged for a very long time because of the elderly market. Up top, this is a rapid access tuner with LED channel indication. Delta gun. Phosphid. RCA color track. I'm hoping it's a remote set too. I'm not 100% sure, but it'd be real cool if it was. And some matching VCRs. VCRs I may end up selling, especially if they don't just work as is. because I have enough of these two-piece top loaders. I've got at least one other set. I don't need 2 sets of the darn things. What I was most excited about to see on this trailer is this is a 12-inch Admiral color vacuum tube portable. This is basically Admiral's answer to the GE Portacolor. I really dig this this colored brushed aluminum panel and just the general look of it. Dusty as all heck. Down below is a very base model Filco vacuum tube color set. I say very base model because it has no carry handle and has no built-in antennas, but what's interesting is it has a 75 ohm coax input. At least one of these knobs is wrong. This I recognize off of, I think, either RCA XL100 or Quasar Works in a Drawer. The later ones had this lower knob. I don't know if this upper one is original or not. This one's continuous. There's probably a... yeah, there's number plates behind this window here. Wonder if this also has a tuning eye. Don't know. I have to check that out later. This is a 60s RCA portable. Given that all the slimline portables I've ever gotten out of Dave's place when he was alive and after he had passed have had bad picture tubes, I don't expect great things from this. If the picture tube's bad, I'm going to crunch up the tube in the cabinet and part out the chassis. If the picture tube's good, I'm going to be offering it for possibly less than what's written on the screen. A dynamotor power supply, which I might use to run a high power tube amplifier in the Oldsmobile back there at some point. This is a really neat Zenith Chromacolor too. It's one of the sort of Avanti adjacent table models they made back then. The only problem is it's missing its back and it's not in great shape. There was one just like this that was being sold at as a test jig. Someone had converted it at the ETF, and I'm wondering if I can find the person who bought it, talk them into selling me a cabinet back and make this thing whole and keep it. Otherwise, I'm going to end up scrapping it out because it's not in great shape and it's missing the back. But if I can get it back, I think I have the knobs it would use, and I could probably make it something decent. Some ham radio operator built a slow scan television. This is missing a good portion of its circuitry, and I'm not sure if it's worth anything or usable as anything, but it was neat enough that I didn't want to see it trashed. Got a 70s security camera, some IR extenders, a JVC DVD recorder VCR. It has HDMI and it has iLink, and given it's JVC, there's actually a fair chance that this thing might take the iLink firewire signal from a DVHS deck and spit it out the HDMI port in HD. If it does, I'm going to be elated. If it doesn't, well, I still got a nice VCR with time-based corrector and HDMI output, and also a top-loading VHS deck. Another one. Egads, another one! Okay, time to see if these are part sets or somewhat usable. The Zenith I'm not even going to bother with trying to get it back for if the picture tube's dead. But if it's good, I might just see if I can track one down because I think it's cool. I just spotted something really wild here. Signal Corps, Philadelphia most likely. The captions are in Russian. Oh, is this something we sold Russia during Lend-Lease in World War II? I know Lend-Lease we sold stuff to Britain. I don't know if we sold anything to Russia. That's just weird. Okay, so the Chromacolor 2 has 76% emission on blue, about the same on green, and about the same on red. So that's an excellent picture tube. The RCA, which is apparently in frame for you guys, yoke's missing, and that's no yoke. Unintended. I'm going to guess that this RCA is probably going to be parts no matter what, but let's find out. Thing's got very energetic cutoff. It at least sets to the correct and it's a very energetic picture tube. Why is it that it has to have a good tube and no yoke? I don't know what to do with this thing. If anyone wants a 60s RCA portable that has no yoke and is unrestored, but is otherwise pretty complete, let me know. You can have this thing for $5. Just take it. No shipments, though. This thing, there's no way in hell I can pack it to survive shipping. I just want this thing not to be in my life. I kind of had that same thought when I was pulling it off the trailer, except for I also had the thought of I don't want to see this go to a garbage dump, but I'm not going to spend the money for a yoke on it, and unless I have one. If I don't, and no one buys it, I'm going to crunch up the cabinet, part out the chassis, and stick the picture tube on a shelf somewhere. Wonder if that's a predicted compatible tube. So I remembered I had this out in the garden shed. I think the tube's junk, but re-yoked. No clue if this is going to work any good on this set or not, but now it has a yoke. Well, I'm ready to test these sets. Both of them are interesting. The Admiral is a Taiwanese Admiral, or Admiral Overseas Corporation, which actually still exists, even though the American Admiral stopped existing. It's got a tube sweep, I think maybe video circuitry, solid state IF. Very neat little compact set. Also uses the two-pedal convergence clover system, which I've seen on a number of Zeniths and some Asian stuff. The Filco is also interesting. Free pedal convergence clover. I think it's about a 6 or 7 tube hybrid. Solid state with socketed dip ICs in the signal chain. And socketed transistors. This is an interesting set. Both of these are interesting sets. I would guess the Filco is probably somewhere around 1970. I've seen some of their earlier hybrids that didn't use any ICs but used multiple transistors. The Admiral uses a 12 VASP22, which means it's a post-68 tube, I believe, and the 12-inch viewable is an honest 12-inch. Most of the tubes built after the 68 kind of truth in advertising for television's law. I forget exactly what the name of it was. Anyway, most sets built after that point had a V as the first letter in their identification numbers to indicate that they were using the viewable system of measurement. Oh, and someone changed the socket on this Filco. Literally every wire for the socket has electrical tape on it right here. That's neat. Let's see if the Filco's any good, and then we'll check the Admiral. Oh, nice. The Filco tube is about 72 on blue, 70 on green, and 74 on red. That'll produce a good picture once it's put into use. This actually might be a low-hour Filco. I noticed that the horizontal output tube is an original Filco branded tube. Let's check the Admiral. On the Admiral, we're getting just into the good on blue, just into the good on green. Red is surprisingly, seemingly a little bit healthier than the others. So this set isn't going to be bright, because honestly marginal on this tester is calibrated for color tubes, so this tube isn't going to be particularly bright or excellent, but if I can make the chassis work, this will still be a really cool little set, and it should at least function and make a picture. I may just try to variac those two sets, because they might just come to life. The 14N22, if the picture tube's good, that's another one that's likely to live with a variac. In fact, before I do any further testing, that XL100, let's just give it a sink or swim. It's solid state, so variacing it doesn't make a lot of sense. Plug it in and see if it explodes. Now we have static. Okay, it picks up my transmitter. I feel high voltage on the tube. I see very faint static through the, let's hook an antenna up to it and see if this helps. Brightness is maxed. Contrast is also maxed. Oh, I can see a blue ghost of the Phillips test pattern. This tube is probably bad. That or the biasing circuitry is all screwed up. Well, at least we know the chassis basically works. Stay positive on that and move along to the next stuff. Yeah, I'll take the back off of it too and see if I can wake the picture tube up with 8 volts of heater voltage and some emissions draw. Sometimes those tubes just fall asleep and they need a little time to wake up gently. We'll think positive until we have confirmation of its demise. Okay, so all the backs are off of the remaining sets that I'm going to do picture tube testing on. The Zenith, it has become obvious upon inspection that the dag-blasted aquadag on the picture tube's been flaking off. I'm going to have to make sure all of that's out of the cabinet before I power up, because this crap's conductive, and if it's laying on the chassis solder pot terminal strips, they're exposed above chassis on most Zeniths of this era, they can short stuff out and clean out all of the dag flakes. The worst cereal ever, unless you're the Iron Giant. And see if I can spray a little bit of fresh dag on some places to replace one. This one has a nice healthy picture tube aside from the dag flickage. Yeah, this one's a worthy candidate of Variac work. The RCA above is definitely Delta gun. It's got the most unusual convergence yoke I think I've seen. I wonder when this RCA was produced. This has to be very close to 1980. And it has a rapid access tuner. It's not a remote set because there is a hardwired volume pot and there's also no noticeable IR sensor or ultrasonic sensor on it. So if it was a remote set, I would be really jonesing to fix it. I'm really lucky the tube is good, and it actually is testing really good on the blue gun. And green is garbage. Cutoff's turned up pretty high too. And the red is also garbage. So this set probably has video issues on top of the weak guns. That's marvelous. I'm going to crank the heater up to 8.4 volts and just kind of let it stew for a while and see if I can get the red and the green to wake up. You know, there's no discernible power transformer in this RCA, so it doesn't even appear to be a filament transformer. So odds are this set probably derives its filament for the picture tube from the flyback. Which means that I probably can't even use a brightener on it. Marvelous. Yeah, green is not exactly waking up. Red's woken up, kinda. Yeah, just barely. Granted, it probably sinks down into the bad when I turn it down to the correct heater voltage, so maybe I should smack the green with a light rejuvenate. Ha! That looks like it actually did something. Well, that woke the green up. Cool. Let's try to wake the red up too while we're at it. Ha! I think I woke the red up too. Ha ha! That's actually pretty energetic, and it looks like it's tracking with the blue. Granted, the heater voltage is way up above what it should be, but there's hope this thing might actually live. Let's The adjust heater down to 6.3 volts. And then I'm going to turn this tester off. I'm going to reinitialize everything, and let's see if it does the right stuff at the normal heater voltage in a second. Blue is at 76, which looks good. The green is not at 76. It is down in the middle of the question mark zone. So that rejuve did not hold. And red is in the middle of the question mark zone. Dang. Well, I mean, I could whack it with the rejuve another time, so I think it did improve it slightly. This might be semi-usable and dim. Rejuvenate 1. The second hit did. Now it's up in the green on the green. Okay, the green now tests okay at 6.3 volts. It wants to trail down a bit, but tests okay. Let's go over to the red. Let's see if we can wake the red up. And the red woke right up even better than the green on the first tap. It's got a chance. Let's plug this tester off of it and jam the socket on and apply power crudely and see if we can actually see stuff on screen this time. Well, I can actually see some image coming through now, which is different from before. Does this thing have a service switch that I might be able to flip? Yes. We put it into service mode, and let's see if I can play with the G2 adjustments and force some kind of image out of it. Yeah, I'm getting something out of it. It looks terrible, but I've got something coming out of it. So after a significant amount of dancing around, of course the camera's going to give a weird artifact that makes the screen look darker than it is. Ta-da! Does not look great, but it's there. XL100s and Chromacolor 2s, they're pretty damn near immortal. Granted, this one needed some coaxing. Okay, time to check the Satchel Carlson and the Mystery Sylvania tube. And then question my life's decisions for buying all of this stuff. Wow, it looks like 6JN6, which I think is the horizontal output in this set, is original Satchel Carlson. So this could be a low-hour Satchel. Heater is lit, but we have no G2. And we have almost no emissions. Great. I mean, it is waking up slowly, but yeah, that's a slow wake up. By the way, a little blurb while you guys wait. This is a Scientific Atlanta cable box. What's really cool about it is you see this outlet back here. This outlet is switched with the power to the box, and this box is a remote controlled box. So also it has internal volume control where it basically demodulates the signal coming into the input, adjusts the volume and tuning and whatnot, remodulates it and spits it out the output with variable audio level. So with this, you can actually fully remote control a non-remote vintage television set. These are handy. I have one elsewhere that has its original remote, and I picked up this one because I know the other one is useful. These are pretty neat little things to have. Zenith, on some of their 80s VCRs, the JVC made ones, shortly after they switched from beta to VHS. The early VHS machines Zenith made, a number of those had a remote control switched power outlet as well. And those are also useful if you want to remote control a vintage television set. So Those are things to keep an eye out for at thrift stores. If you want a remote control vintage television set, you can also just go to Harbor Freight and get switched power outlets, but sometimes period-ish accessories make things interesting. And the emissions are now in the green for the Satchel Carlson. Let's test this strange Motorola tube that might be for an EVR. See how this presumably NOS Motorola tests like. Well, it tests as a bad tube. Part number 96S185A01. I'm sure that's not in my tube tester setup chart, so maybe this is a projection tube that needs very special voltages. I have no idea. Interestingly, this is like a silicone block that the high voltage lead's potted into. Yeah, it tests at 26% on my tester. For a standard monochrome tube, which this is, it would probably produce a visible raster. I'm not sure what the application of this thing is, or if the setup that I'm using on this tube tester is correct for this tube. At the very least, I'm not harming it because the heater brightness looked normal, and we weren't getting crazy high emission from it. I have no clue what this is. I'm going to have to ask the forums about this. This little tube might just be a fancy piece of junk that no one cares about, including me, once I figure out what it is. I should be honest with myself. Just like you guys, I want to see if all this stuff works pretty damn bad. I was actually getting ready to restart filming yesterday. I was going to start by just jamming the plug of this Chroma Color 2 into the wall and seeing what it would do. But then various chores and earlier today, Mother's Day has gotten in the way of me fully enjoying my new acquisition, so here I am now. I had a little bit more of a look at the Zenith in passing today, and I realized that it's definitely not ready to be plugged in. The horizontal output transistor is completely absent, and there's probably other stuff that's been ripped off of it too, aside from the knobs and the cabinet back and the volume slider. Given that this thing's chassis is missing pieces and its cabinet's missing pieces, really the only concrete good thing on that Chroma Color 2 is its picture tube and a handful of parts that are on it. I can't see merit in going to all of that time and effort to rebuild the chassis, so what I'm thinking I'm going to do on this Zenith is I'm going to rip the picture tube out of it. I believe it's a 19-inch tube, and it's probably the same size and interchangeable with the XL100 with the rapid access tuner. The XL100 will make a picture, but I've got all the controls cranked, and it's a dim, terrible looking picture. I'm probably better off doing a picture tube swap. One thing I did notice, which is fascinating, is this set has a round swivel base on it. I did not know they sold these with that. My other one that's almost identical to this has 4 plastic feet on the corners. So this is actually really cool, and I kind of, I'm not sure if I'll end up selling one of these now that I have both versions. I probably will eventually. First I gotta fix both of them up to proper operation, then figure out which one I'm more in love with, and then make sure that that one has all the best cosmetic parts of the two. No, horizontal output transistor, one of the modules is missing, one of the convergence coils is busted. If I really, really wanted to make this Chroma Color 2 work, I could, but I'm not a big fan of working on solid state stuff. I think I'm going to variact the set I'm most excited about, which is this Admiral color set. I have known about those for many years, and my opinion on them, since I've only seen 1 or 2 other examples in collector hands posted about on the internet, and never before one in person, my opinion of these sets has always been Damn, it would be cool if I could find one, but I'm probably not going to. And if I try too hard, I'm just going to end up wasting a stupid amount of money to talk someone who has one out of the one they have. As we know, I resemble Jack Benny, so it's got to be something I absolutely have to own for me to do something like offer a large amount of money for it. Okay, this is discouraging. The on-off switch lever has not really any mechanical feel to it, but I think I might have gotten into the on mode because I'm now seeing 12 watts of power draw on my Variac. One thing I could do, these are Dave's TVs, and I have a dim bulb tester that was Dave's. Maybe I should add a dim bulb into this process to make this more visually interesting. This is Dave's dim bulb tester, I do believe. I'll just add this dim bulb tester for a little bit of spice. We're at 11.4 watts right now. Surrender your power cord. Variac slightly more aggressively with the dim bulb in place because the dim bulb will react to any shorts that occur faster than my hand can. Huh. I'm already at 80 volts, and I can hear static. Pull up an antenna or two. Wow, that's some crusty antenna rods. Put a little bit of PB blaster on here. Just enough to... Yeah, that loosens those up. At 50 watts of power, get up to 90 volts. I think I can actually hear my agile modulator coming through. Oh yeah, it's coming through. I just heard it sounded like a high voltage snap. And about 100 volts. The light bulb is going to drop our voltage a little bit. Feel high voltage. Oh, and I see a very dim picture. Can you see it? You can. Watts on the Variac. And bring the voltage up to 120 volts. The light bulb's going to be dropping some. Wattage is 109 watts. Yeah, we have some picture. Okay, pots are dirty. That is not unexpected at all. Can I increase brightness here? That's vertical hold. Okay, that's brightness. That's max brightness. That I think is contrast. Let's see if I can force some color to come in by playing with the pot a bit. Fine tuning even moving the tuner. I feel no real resistance behind the knob. I wonder if this is one of those push-in style. It really doesn't feel like I'm getting any positive engagement on the fine tuning knob on this. Well, I think it sat on the light bulb long enough to not be doing bad. So I'm going to bring the voltage down to 100 volts. I'm going to bypass the bulb. Going in hot. Okay. It's getting 117 volts now. And it's drawing 128 watts. That's a lot less than the 285 I seem to remember reading on the back panel. One is brightness and one is contrast, but they both seem to more affect brightness than they do contrast, which is interesting. If nothing else, we have very good linearity and grayscale for a set that's just been sitting around all this time. I suspect if I pull the tuner on this and get the fine-tuning mechanism to actually do stuff, with how many times I've turned this wheel in clockwise direction, I should have completely lost picture by now. And the same goes of clockwise. I should have completely lost picture, and there's no change in detail or picture at all, so fine-tuning is just out to lunch. Although we may just have a color demodulator problem, because in between what I believe this bar is supposed to be cyan or green. It's like yellow. I think it's yellow, cyan, green. Yeah, yellow, cyan, green. So this is supposed to be green, and this one is supposed to be, I believe, purple. And then these are supposed, or magenta. And I believe this is red and blue normally. Well, between the green and the red, I'm seeing chroma dot crawl vertically, so there should be enough chroma information going through here for the chroma demodulator to do chroma things. Convergence is actually really nice. I can tell multiple pots in this thing are kind of dirty from being outside. I'm playing around with the contrast. I'm getting better low contrast adjustment than I was before. This thing is going to live. It just needs the color figured out. It might be as simple as the chroma slide pot might be junk. This thing's Taiwanese made, and I recently dealt with a couple of Japanese made sets where the chroma level pots were junk. It actually gets decent reception with the antennas collapsed, which is kind of neat. Wonderful radio. Yeah, the on-off switch is not operable on this. At least it's stuck in the on position, so I can just yoink the plug. I'm really happy with this Admiral. This set I can restore to being a nice, good working, reasonable looking, I think even, example of this set. Underneath the barn dust and ignoring this one little scratch on the really cool green control panel, it's not bad. It's not a bad specimen. What do I want to play with next? No, let's pick the lowest hanging fruit, like I was originally going to do with the Chroma Color 2 before realizing that it's an irreparable basket case. Instead of doing that, I'm going to pick another Zenith, the 14N22. Because those 14N22s are known for being relatively immortal sets. I have another one that's a console that I believe is an unrepaired original that I think literally needed no maintenance to function. Okay, it's already drawing 20 watts and dropping precipitously. So capacitors are reforming and filaments are warming up. Get this set to channel 7 and pull the one good rabbit ear it has left up into operating position so it can get all the signal. Can I improve your perspective of what I'm doing? Any? Not massively, but somewhat. You see that light bulb right there? That light bulb is powering that set. Light bulbs generate energy like the plants from the original Trigun. I refuse to dignify the CG remake as part of the franchise. I'm drawing 20 watts at 60 volts. The light bulb isn't really lighting up. I'm going to just slowly creep it. It's already to 75. Let's just slowly creep it up. It's going to get an accelerated variacing because we have a light bulb to protect it. The light bulb is beginning to glow. We've reached 50 watts of power, 80 watts, and the variac is dialed to 110 volts. And Variac 220, which is basically full line voltage, and we're getting 97 watts. I should get the junk color too out of the way. Gotta be careful moving it though, because how bad it is, there's a fair chance it'll flip over. We have static in the audio. Let's just max out brightness. Don't feel any high voltage. Also don't hear the horizontal. Okay, she's passing some signal. Well, it's at 96 watts. I suspect we have no high voltage, which is mildly concerning. Well, we're just going to dial the Variac down to 100 volts and make a mess of transferring over to direct connection. Okay, we're at 116 volts. Not sure if there's any HV here. I hope I plugged the picture tube. I know I plugged the picture tube back in after I tested it. We've either got no high voltage or we've got a very significant bias issue on this picture tube. Well, we know it has sound and it passes signal. That's a pretty good step for that television. Let me dial the Variac back down to 40 volts. Plug our dim bulb in and plug in the esteemed Filco. Well, I can't say I would, under normal circumstances, go out and buy a rectangular color Filco aside from the one specimen I have with a tuning eye, which is because I wanted to have a color TV with a tuning eye. I would buy a roundy from around this era, if I could find a Filco roundy from around this era. I'm trying not to buy more rectangular color television sets because, frankly, I have more TVs than I really need, if I'm honest with myself. Oh, this guy needs an antenna because he has no internal antenna or internal handle for one. Okay, we'll just give it a quick ramp out. 70 volts, 35 watts. I dig the green channel indicators. I wonder if a tuning eye was optional on these sets. Tuner's a little dirty, but it is running. Definitely getting audio through. I think there's some high voltage on the tube. We're at about 100 volts on the Variac. It's going to be getting less because of the light bulb. Just going to crank it up slowly to 120 volts on the Variac dial. And it's drawing 114 watts. Yeah, I see it. Horizontal's a ways off, but we have video coming through. Looks like vertical's also a ways off. I need to add a light bulb bypass switch onto this dim bulb tester. Okay, we're gonna bring the Variac down to 100 volts. Swap cables quick to eliminate the dim bulb. Okay, so it's behaving about like it did. Oh, sweet, we got color. And it's only got 107 volts coming to it right now. Let's crank it up to proper 117 slowly. Looks alright. Let's get the vertical to be happier if we can help it. It actually has fairly nice color once you get the adjustments right. Pots are a little bit dirty, but... So this actually is a pretty good picture aside from the vertical linearity being off. Given the bottom is squished, what's probably happened is there's most likely a capacitor in the cathode circuit of the vertical output tube that is probably an electrolytic that has probably went open or close to it and is causing the vertical to look like that. Later on, I will attempt to open up that set and replace said capacitor, but for right now, I'm just happy that all of the circuits are mostly working. Aside from the vertical not working perfectly, it's actually working really well. So I'm going to switch off the Filco. It has made me happy. Next, do the Satchel Carlson. I shouldn't mess around with the antenna because the Satchel Carlson has its own internal antennas, which actually might not be connected to the right things, but I'm going to just pretend I didn't see that. I'm going to say there is actually a pretty good shot of this Satchel Carlson working, at least somewhat. My identical one to this has a almost full screen raster. I don't know if I ever fed signal into the other one. It's been a while since I got the other one. I got it back in August and never really got around to working on it yet. I was actually hoping to do that before the ETF and ran out of time. Yeah, I actually think this 300 watt bulb is a bad idea for this set. This is probably a 100-ish watt set. I should probably use a, what is this, 200 watt reveal? Cool, I can't believe I got one of those out of Dave's estate. You never find reveal bulbs available anymore. Which is a crying shame because they were awesome. At least when they were incandescent. Do not sell me on the energy-saving hippie bulbs that create tons of RF interference. Already have fluorescent lights in the garage, and they suck. And I don't want more of them. Also don't want LED for the same reason. Want to listen to shortwave and every other wave that is on the air without interference. Made by my own building. The 200 watt bulbs start and glow are at 40 watts and 78 volts. 100 volts and 71 watts, which is probably close to whatever line voltage is, which is probably below 120, but detail. Well, you have something coming through the speaker. Tell if there's high voltage or not with the arm hair test. Sounds like the horizontal is running. I'm going to bring the variac, we're at 93 watts, we're going to bring the variac down to 100 volts. And I'm going to swap over the power plug of the TV into the variac. Okay, we have audio. I cannot tell if we have any kind of deflection or not. Rather, I can't tell if we have any kind of high voltage or not. So this set appears to also be without raster. Well, I have another identical one, so I'm sure between the two I can definitely make at least one nice working set, probably two. These Satchel Carlsons are some of the best engineered TVs that were produced in their time period. For a small company, they did things that were more interesting than Zenith and better engineered than RCA. In some cases, I could almost argue better engineered than Zenith. There are some things Zenith did better than Satchel Carlson, some things Satchel Carlson did better than Zenith. Okay, so on the 13-inch Admiral, I figured out why fine-tuning wasn't working. This arm is supposed to, this arm on the tuner is supposed to pivot out when you turn the fine-tuning shaft, and it wasn't pivoting out. The reason why it wasn't is because this pivot right here had grease that had petrified and turned to glue. Basically, I pried up slightly on it with this I pried it up slightly with a screwdriver right near the pivot to lift the arm up. Added some fresh oil onto there and popped it back down, worked it a little bit, and got it loosened up to where it functions again. I also figured out what failed on the power switch. The power switch is a free piece. Or actually, no, it's a two-piece part, kind of. There's the actual switch here, this little black thing. And there are these two grabby fingers, and the grabby fingers are supposed to hold the hand toggle, but you see there's a little something missing right there. At that spot, there's supposed to be a pivot point that these fingers, basically a little nub that locks into those fingers. Well, the nub's busted off on both sides. So on this side, I have already switched it from being a nub to being a hole. And on this side, I'm about to do the same thing. I have this small screw that fits through the hold tabs right here. I've been heating it with a lighter and using the divot of the old nub that is missing to heat up and make a hole. And I'm thinking I can slide this through the switch assembly as kind of a retainer pin. I don't know if I have any nuts that'll work with this small of a screw, so I may just bend it over like a cotter pin. And the screw will act as the new pivot point for the switch, and theoretically that should make the power switch function. With luck, fixing the fine-tuning and giving this tuner a cleaning, which I haven't done yet but will soon, with luck that'll get me color back. If not, while I'm in here, I'm also going to clean the slide potentiometers, because while those were a fad for a number of years in the very late 60s, early 70s, they stopped being a fad because they suck. And they generally need cleaning. So I'm going to clean very thoroughly the chroma and tint potentiometers and check that they actually work. And also clean the volume potentiometer a little bit better and see if the no color problem is either in the potentiometers or the tuner, which is the two places I most suspect it to be. Looking at the schematic, the chroma demodulator circuitry, chroma oscillator, all of that, all the chroma except for the video outputs in this thing is solid state. The audio is fully solid state. The video, aside from the video output tube, is solid state. The only tubes are the monochrome video output, the chroma video output, the horizontal vertical deflection, and one section of one tube that acts as a sync amplifier, even though most of the sync separator action is transistor. Another thing that's really interesting is this is the SAMs for this set. So apparently they offered this little 12-inch set as a mini combo with a AM/FM 8-track unit. Never would have suspected that. I bet this version is even rarer than the one I have. I wonder if any survive. So once I got back working power switch and fine-tuning on the Admiral, I discovered that I had no color sync. I had color information coming through, but no color sync. Turns out this set uses a potentiometer to adjust the color sync instead of a tuned inductor, which is unusual. I don't think I've seen that before. Adjusting that got me a nice good color picture, as you see here. The 1973 Filco hybrid, I figured out it was a hotel set. That's the reason why it has no carry handle and no antenna and a 75 ohm coax input in 1973, which is kind of unusual on a 18-inch consumer TV set. There's up top the remnants of a sticker. Given it's a Filco, it probably was a Holiday Inn set, as I understand Holiday Inn had a contract with them for a long time, although it could have been another hotel chain or independent hotel. That set, the vertical problem, was relatively simple, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I expected a bad cap in the cathode of the vertical output. I changed that cap and nothing happened. I then tested the tube and figured out that the vertical output tube was weak. I subbed it for a known good tube and no change. So I started poking around. Eventually I found a 2.2 meg resistor that had went up to 3.4 megs. Changing that got me back full screen vertical with good linearity. And after that I decided to try subbing back in the very weak vertical output tube that was in it originally, and not very much difference was made. So right now the set is running a weak vertical output tube and looking really good. I guess the circuit is designed to compensate for the amount of oomph left in the vertical output tube, which is interesting. So that set's now done and in good shape, and I also found it a couple of new tuning knobs that match each other. I'm not sure if they're correct for the set, but they look pretty good on it, and that's a lot better than mismatched random junk bin knobs that appear to have been whatever the last person who worked on it put on it. Also, while I was doing knob hunting, I tried to find a more appropriate knob for that little Packard Bell portable. I did not have the correct knob. However, going through and looking for any knob where the channel numbers are clocked the same relative to the knob shaft index yielded very few candidates except for the one that's on it, which I believe is a Filco Predicta knob. It's clocked exactly the same way as the Packard Bell knob, and it's also intended to be backlit like the Packard Bell knob. It also is a fairly good cosmetic match to the knobs that are already on the Packard Bell. At any rate, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more stuff like this, if you want to see the ongoing fate of all of these televisions and the various restorations that will occur on them, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that. Thanks for watching.